I think that I think this deck needs more force spikes. That's what it needs.
Which one?
My newest brew.
More force spikes.
People need to play more artifacts in X Point.
Save it for the pod, Andy.
Oh man, we can't even talk about anything. Anytime we speak about something, you're like, save it for the pod, and we're done. Okay. I don't know what we're gonna talk about today. I heard X Point, but once again we are here for your enjoyment, for your viewing pleasure. The bottomless vault
Has a bottom.
never has a bottom, and we are constantly
Except for today, because we have Ian Roncoroni on.
Oh my goodness!
I was gonna
you
I was gonna
spoiled.
ask if we're allowed to make that joke.
You spoiled the intro. It's fine, but yes, as my co-host Jared Susney has already announced, we have not one but two guests today: Ian Roncoroni, and we also have Richie Revised, Rich Arevalo, friend to the room, and we are here to talk about X Point. No, we are here about. Are we talking about X Point or double X Point or both?
A little bit
We can
of
talk
both.
about
Little this and that.
however many X's as you want, Andy.
Yeah. Well, I wanted three, but that didn't happen. So we'll talk
Wow.
about we'll talk about it and we'll get
Well,
into it.
nobody's not gonna come to the tournament because you changed the rules 2 weeks before it starts. People are just gonna build a third deck. So
Right,
Pe-
yeah.
hey,
That's
people-
the realistic, that's the
People
realistic
complain.
outcome.
People complain about having to put in work and building decks and not.
yeah, but they've already gotten flights in Airbnbs.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I see what you're saying. Yes. So
Yeah.
all right. Let's talk about it. So both of you guys are actually coming down. Jared's not going to be here, unfortunately. But how would you
I
like
have
to?
life responsibilities.
You have life responsibilities.
Sorry.
He's
How
going
do
to be in the Discord playing online as we're.
Streaming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we could consider setting up a laptop at the bottom table for you and just a whole thing.
I was actually
So-
surprised. I was telling, who was I telling? I was talking to Ryan, a local guy, and I was telling him that I was surprised that Neos is doing the double X point, and I told him that they must be really desperate for formats if they took up our format.
They like mixing it up.
They do.
I'm not surprised. Like, it's something new, something fresh.
It's
I think Andy's just being modest. That
they're really
I don't know
bored.
if you came up with this, Andy, or if this was a thing before you. I had never heard of it before, so maybe you are just being modest that you came up with something that other people want to do. And
No,
he did
have other
want to
people
do.
done this before?
no.
He wanted to
this
do
is-
triple X first, and then I told him like it's too many decks, dude.
No,
Like,
yeah, we
but-
made it. We kind of created the format. I think it was when we were brainstorming for the tournament, and I don't know who initially came up with it, but
We
it kind of-
brainstormed a little bit in Denver. Remember, we were talking about like the possibilities. Then the original kind of idea was to have 3 decks unified across. So that third deck would be super spicy. You'd really have no choice but to play. I don't know. I thought that was probably
right.
the-
I was getting you guys' opinion on what you thought of if it would be too much of an ask, but
It would be.
Three decks is too many decks. Although I kind of like the 2 decks, like, and then pick one for the third game if there is a game 3, rather than have 3 decks, because I feel like there's slightly less variance then, right, based on the matchup. Because at least then you could pick the deck that you thought did better or might have a better matchup, but you might wind up against the deck that didn't have a good matchup in the first place, rather than just have 3 completely different ones. I don't know. I think it's better than three decks personally.
Right. I like
Yeah, and
that
with
there's a
only
little
two
bit of a
decks, you're guaranteed to see at least one brass man. So that's great.
exactly.
Yeah.
I think that that aspect of it is pretty cool that you get to like play against the deck you think will be better against. So you get to pick the deck that you play against, which is but so does your opponent. So it adds a level of play there, which I like. I don't know if it's going to be good or not, but it's better than just people playing their favorite deck. If you know what I mean, I'm just going to play my more powerful deck, and that's it. So
Mhm.
Yeah, I
So
was. So when you first like dropped the format details, I was surprised because since it's your event, I don't think you've ever played an X Point game before. At least I've never
I've
seen it happen.
I've never played an
you
X Point.
yes,
No, I hadn't because well, people tell. I think
you
Rich
had.
was it you? You were like, oh, you would love this because it's fresh. There's a lot of new decks out there, but I just was hesitant to play it because
It's not
it was
good.
just big on online. I don't really do the online tournaments, and I don't know. I
Well,
never.
it's true though. Like if when you see kind of the deck drop of all the deck picks from the prior monthly, you see like something like 50, 60 different deck pictures. It's kind of hard to find like two decks that are like exactly the same. Like everybody's trying something interesting, something different. So I've definitely come around to playing more X points just because it's kind of incredible how like you don't really know what you're facing when you actually get paired, for instance. Um, so it definitely has that going for it. There's a lot of deck diversity more so than probably other formats.
So you don't feel obviously you guys have more experience in this than I do, but you don't feel like if you sit down and somebody plays a Badlands, you already know that they're playing black red, good stuff, efficient creature stuff.
I mean,
You don't feel that way.
there's a good chance that there might be a him or maybe a Sestral, but not necessarily. I mean, there are a lot of kind of crazy decks with like Mana Flare or something like that, or even like Power Surge. Like you don't necessarily know because those deck you can make an X point deck around those kinds of cards. So not I don't necessarily think automatically it's going to be Troll Disco or that kind of thing just because I see a Badlands.
Mm-hmm.
Um, mhm.
And like him specifically is one of those cards that people have like really split opinions on. I didn't when I got into X Point maybe 2 years ago, and I never played him at the beginning, and I found myself always getting frustrated when I played against it. Like turn to him, lose one of my two or three lands after I mulled, and I'm like, fuck, I can't
You're
like
not.
why would you do this to me? And after
You're
being
killing
pissed
my
off
fun.
for like
It's
3 or 4 months, I was like, fuck it, I'm just gonna play him. And it turns out it's really fun to play. But
it's
at two
it does show
points,
you the power of the card that people waste 8 of their 10 points on
it,
four
it,
of them. You know,
exactly. And the question is then, okay, what do you do with your next 2 points? Like, do you want to run two mazes? Do you want to run two Geddons if you splash white? Do you want to like when I ran it and I ran this at LobsterCon last year with some success, I ran the jet. I was like, all right, having the option for a turn one sinkhole or turn one him is just so nasty. That was what I ended up doing. But some people don't run three hymns. And now my buddy Tim Kincaid has recently started running Word of Command, which is super fucking spicy. And it's like kind of sort of like a hymn. And depending on your deck, it's actually like kind of and point in the game, it's actually kind of better than him. And I was running my Naya aggro list, and he would have no dudes in play, and I would be sandbagging a plow
so
for his troll, and he's like, haha, like, you know, your Granite Gargoyles now removed from the game for one card at instant speed. And I was like, fuck, that's really good. So
so
you
you,
can then,
so
use
you
six
can get
points
the
for it
same two
instead.
for one that him could get, and situationally it can be better because both the cards can potentially matter. Where like him, you might get a land that is like not
Yeah,
relevant.
or you'll sandbag like if it's later in the game and you're playing a low mana curve deck, you just all right, fuck it, I'm gonna sandbag two basic lands that I don't need and make him think I've got something, make him play his him, and get that out of the deck so that when I do draw my plow or something else, it's now protected. Plus, just saving 2 points and having that to use on something else, so you can allocate 6 points to him and run 2 mocks, something like that.
So Ian, you've been playing a lot of the monthlies very consistently since you pretty much started playing a couple years ago, and you've now made four finals and not won a single one. Why is it that you?
Yeah, the Buffalo Bills.
Why is it that you keep losing? Just
Yeah,
kidding.
I think it's I get lucky to get to the finals, and then I just play normal games in the finals and I lose.
Are you that much of an edgelord, Ian, that you have to get to the finals?
Oh wow.
I mean, this is your
it's not
podcast, so I
finished?
assumed we'd be talking about edging at some point.
Right. Correct.
Edging in the bottomless vault, starring Jared.
Yeah. So yeah, no. But seriously, so getting is it just the matchups? Is it certain matchups that are, or is it just variants that you're not? But during the finals, you're not getting the right cards, and you're just
So I think
your luck is running
I
out.
think
I
it's a
guess I don't know.
I think it's a combination of things, and I think X Point is probably a more matchup sensitive format than something like Atlantic or Swedish. And it's because you have limited power, you don't have the ability for the busted like turn one twist your hand. You don't have that type of game. So even if you're like less even if you're less skilled than a player, or your deck isn't matched up well against the player, or just not as good as another deck, you can still steal victories with some of these like busted hands and your opponent has shitty draws. But my opinion, and one of the reasons I like X Point, is that I feel like it's kind of an equalizing format where um, every game is much more consistent than the games you have in the fully powered formats. And of course, it gives you, when every single deck isn't running the same 20-ish cards, and then or 30 cards that every other deck is running, and then you just fill in the blanks with a few other things. It allows you to have like a much wider brew space that can be equally competitive. So anyway, to answer your question directly, like the times that I've made the finals, like when we were talking about Brass Man, who's my favorite creature in the game. I was running a mono blue robots list, and at that time in the meta, I was seeing like tons of mono black. And Brass Man is awesome against certain shit, like awesome against lions, awesome against like black and white knights. He can control the board for the first few turns while you stabilize, build your mana base, do things like that. And in that, in my pod that month, if I remember correctly, 6 of my 6 opponents were running black, and like 4 of them had him, 5 of them
when was
had
this? Like
six,
how long ago was this?
I don't know, this is maybe like 6 or 8 months ago, maybe. And then when I got to the finals, I was playing. I think I played a deck that was like elves, Savannah Lions, burn, and it just absolutely trucked me. And it was a tough matchup for me to win. I think I dropped it like 0-2 in like very fast games. And I don't think I magically became a better or worse player at any point in the tournament.
It's
So
just
I
you
do
don't
think
have
that
that
it
edge
is somewhat
anymore.
matchup
Yeah.
dependent. I don't
You
have
know,
that. I don't have that fire and that hunger. I don't have that competitive spirit to go all the way. Andy, is what it is.
no, I
I
mean
mean, if you really want to delve
the
into it,
brat.
I could just go
I
back
mean
to my DMs, because whenever Ian loses a final, he sends me a giant wall of text explaining what had happened afterwards.
what happened was he wasn't playing knights, and my brass man choked. But
Then I drew
Yeah, yeah,
seven. I drew 7 lands in a row.
yeah.
brass man is great against 2-1s, but not good against a bunch of 1-1s. I guess. I mean, he's still
So,
good,
Yeah.
but
Rich, you're also an avid X Point player, and I just want to share this as something maybe antithetical, um, that we can get into after you can kind of discuss your love of the format. Anton Glanz, who's one of the Monster of the Week podcast hosts.
Sorry, I couldn't hear you over Ian blowing.
Ian blowing his fucking nose.
Great.
Mute
Great.
your mic, you douchebag.
Great
I need
content.
to give Andy something to edit afterwards.
Thanks, appreciate it.
So Anton Glanz, who's one of the hosts of the Monster of the Week podcast, they primarily do pre-modern now because I guess they've been doing old school so long it's gotten boring for them. But apparently he played this recently, and to encapsulate this, he said it ends up being like this mid-range aggro shitty format where sometimes you win on turn 2 because you've got all the broken shit. And then he basically just goes on to say, I fucking hated it. I kind of feel similarly about X Point. But you go ahead, Rich, and tell us why you love it.
Wait, but you like... Oh, okay. We're going to have to go back to that because...
Yeah.
Okay.
I wanted to throw it in there just as a
All
wrench in the machine.
Sure.
So you've also been playing a fair amount of X Point, Rich. What's your take on the
Well,
format?
I mean, I just love playing old school in general. I mean, and so there's that angle to it. Like pretty much any format, I can find a way to enjoy playing it. It's just any excuse to actually put a deck together and to start slinging spells at whether in person or at midnight on a Wednesday. I mean, I'm all for it. So I don't have kind of like a scientific take as to why X Points is a great format over something else. I just like how it really does it feels different when you play it. It feels like a different kind of game, more so because it does kind of, at least because I like to play kind of mid-rangey kind of decks.
Does it feel like a shitty mid-range aggro?
I mean, he pretty much loves the deck that I enjoy playing. Like I love playing with Sedge Trolls. I love playing with Jazams. I love playing with Sanger Vampires. So it does I will say that like maybe with X Points, I've had more kind of weird situations appear, especially with creature combat, because it's just one of those kinds of formats where like
you mean like funky board states, right?
Yeah, exactly, and you get that a lot too in like singleton formats, and those kinds of weird situations kind of help me just understand how the game works a little bit better. And even just to kind of give you an example, Ian had mentioned earlier, Tim, he and I played our monthly match like a week ago, and he had this kind of crazy brew, like an Island Sanctuary Time Vault Twiddle deck, and we were in all these weird situations in terms of like, am I still not allowed to attack because he had untapped his Time Vault and I had disenchanted his Island Sanctuary, but he hadn't had his turn yet. So these kinds of weird situations are interesting to me, just because I just want to learn more about the nuances of the game. So X Points and singleton formats have definitely given me that avenue to learn the game from a more niche kind of level, which is something that I really enjoy. So
I think there are different types of Magic players. I think there are Magic players that enjoy just seeing their deck totally destroy their opponent as fast as possible and their opponent not doing anything. And then there are some Magic players that like that mid-game kind of complicated board state or even just attacking with their creatures or trying to figure out how to win through what their opponent has set up in the mid game. And to each his own. I don't know if
and also it's definitely with this format. I find it's kind of hard to win quickly unless maybe you have that turn 1 him, turn 2 sinkhole kind of situation. I mean, obviously it's doable, but it's very rare that you'll have like land Mox Time Twister or land Mox Lotus Mind Twist where really the game's over in turn 1. So that in itself makes the format a little bit more interesting because it's a little bit more of a back and forth, a little more of a chess game. And just kind of to add to it again, it seems like I don't know. Whenever I see somebody like and I play them, like I have no idea what they're going to be playing. Like basically like just kind of going back to what Ian was saying in terms of like how the X Points format is designed, at least the monthly, is that if you do make top 8 or whatever, like the deck lists are not released, so you have no idea. So it's kind of harder to sideboard optimally. It makes it a little bit more of a challenge. It's not like, oh, I know exactly what I'm going to do in this situation. Like, no, you really have to put on your thinking cap and try to anticipate what they're going to do when you do have incomplete information. So that's one of the aspects of X Points that I think makes it a challenge, an interesting format to me.
Yeah, I think there are so many things that, like with the like consistency of what appears in decks in things like Atlantic, Swedish, four strip, like in a four strip format, everyone's going to have four strips. Everyone's going to have effectively a full set of jewelry. Most people, I would guess 90+% are going to be running blue power in those formats. And in X Point, you know that there's 99% chance you're going to see 10 points, but you don't know, like, is that fast mana? Is that discard? And you can play two games and not see a point. All right, well, maybe they're running a 6 point ancestral, or maybe they're running DT, or maybe they're running Loa or something like that. And you just have no idea what you're going to see. So what, to Rich's point, one of the things I like about it is you have a good blend of that high variance, which the gambler in me really likes. Like, I like the feeling of flipping over that card, and or watching them flip over a card, and having less of an idea of what it could be, because the decks are a little less predictable. But on the flip side, it has way less variance than like a 7 point or like a singleton format. And like I fully understand why people don't like singleton formats. It's like, it's kind of haphazard. You can get totally boned when it comes to getting flooded or getting mana stalled, and you don't have the answers. Like, it's, yeah, if you're running blue, okay, you can run counterspell, you can run remove soul, you can run power sync. Okay, like, you can kind of get to four counterspells. They're different, but it kind of fills that slot. But when it comes to things like this, when like Swords to Plowshares or Disenchant, it's like, all right, you have a Divine Offering and you have a Disenchant. Well, maybe you want to have four answers to enchantments, but you can't do that. And I understand why people don't like to play that, because if you see a moat or you see an abyss, and it's like, all right, well, fuck it. I have two answers to this thing in my deck, so I'm just going to sit here for 30 turns until I draw one of those answers. I can see how that's a frustrating game for people to play and why they might not like it. But X Point, you're allowed to play the same like number of all of the cards that you could play in any other format. It's just a limited amount of power, and it's not as fast, because you can still play four Armageddons if you want to play four Geddons. You can play DT, you can play Brain Geyser, you can play Loa or Mind Twist. It's none of this, run strip mine. You can do all of the same shit. You just can't do all of the same shit. So I don't know. I like it.
What I was just about to get to is
okay.
In all of your many monthlies that you've played, do you recall any interesting decks that actually won a tournament, or are they all just watered down versions of regular Magic decks? Which, scanning through the X Point old school website with all the winners, it looks like these are just all slightly crappier versions of normal decks.
I mean,
So
before you
any-
guys answer, I feel like it's hard to water down a regular magic deck. Like, it's the X Point, the points just add up so quickly, though. Don't they?
Okay, so this is my argument against this format, right? Because you don't get to play all the busted stuff, which I often don't anyway, right? The problem is like, if most of the decks that I play, my deck is not a great deck, but I still need more than 10 points in it to make the deck work. For people that like X Point and like want to be competitive at it, you now have to completely optimize the rest of your deck, like completely. So I feel like it homogenizes the decks that you see, because like, it's not like someone's going to put a Moss Monster in their green deck just because it's X Point. Like, maybe if they're going for a Spice Prize or something, but just because it's a pointed format doesn't make medium cards better. I see what you guys are saying about not sure what you might see in terms of points, but scrolling through these, it looks like, the X Point version of the deck has won this several.
So you're saying the tier 1 decks in old school, they're less powerful because now they have 10 points, but they're still using pretty good cards. Even if you take away those moxes and all that stuff, they're still using pretty decent cards that work well together. And in a game of Magic, they're playable, as opposed to decks that are on the more creative side, on the tier 4 decks. They need those cards to actually compete, and if you take those cards away, then they're not going to do well at all. That's what you're saying, right?
To a degree, yeah. I think you might be missing the optimization point about like now that you don't have all the broken cards, you
Okay.
still now play all of the best cards in any given color that fit into your deck archetype, rather than putting different cards in. In fact, the only deck I'm seeing that actually won that is like any kind of interesting, Andy, is one that has like Sinbad and Reincarnation in it. I can't believe this actually won. I'll put it in the chat. But scrolling through the rest of these, it's just like, hold on. Like, let's take Lucas for instance, because Lucas just fucking wins everything all the time. He's like, his decks are like 4 Savannah Lions, 4 Javelineers, 4 Factories, 4 Ironclaw Orcs, 4 Bolts,
I can sense the
four.
excitement in your voice.
Yeah. It's just like
It's
maybe they
there.
become more elegant in terms of like numbers, but like here's another one. It's just blue white flyers with 4 Serra Angels, 4 Swords, 3 Disenchants, 2 Wrath of Gods, 2 fucking Azure Drakes. Azure Drake's the spicy card in the deck. Like I don't know.
I mean, I still think in any format, for the most part, the winning decks are going to be the decks playing
the best
the best
cards.
creatures, the best spells, the most efficient spells. I don't think that can actually be if you're trying to remove that from the meta. I don't think that can be removed because it doesn't make.
I think everyone should stop trying to win.
Maybe
Everything
that could be a start.
Everybody just stop making good decks, and then we can have fun.
Yeah, but I mean, I think if you start looking outside the top, say 10 or 15 decks, you really start to see like all kinds of different approaches to all the different decks. And
to the
I don't know, like
current,
if you look at say like an ATL or Swedish, and you look outside the top 10, you're still going to see a similar Blinded Bolts or a similar Robots deck. I don't know if you really want to be focusing on the winning decks, because obviously the winning decks will be using the best creatures and the best spells. Maybe it's a slightly lighter version of the ATL equivalent, but they're gonna be winning just because within the context of the rules of Magic, they are optimal. They are the optimal creatures and optimal spells to play, and it's hard to kind of cut that from any kind of format.
So,
Does
Jared,
that I don't think that people should stop trying to win. It's just, I mean, the best argument is one of the good arguments that I've heard is that when I was talking to Ty, and he said, the people who are trying to win the tournaments do lend legitimacy to the tournament. Otherwise, it's just a hangout.
of course. Yeah.
And I agree with that. And I don't think I don't think X Point is gonna. It's not even a problem,
No. I'm completely being facetious here, obviously, by saying people shouldn't win. I'm just saying, looking at all of the event winners' decks, it doesn't seem like anything like in that regard. If
what
you
are we
want to
doing?
win, you're not going to win by doing something that's out of the ordinary. That's the point I'm trying to make.
But Jared, like I don't disagree with you. And honestly, I think one of the reasons X Point has gotten popular as a format and why we're getting like 80 plus people to
Crazy how big the tournament turnout is. Yeah.
is because, Jared, you don't play. So many people say, "Oh my gosh!"
People want to play what Jared is not playing.
Sign up for a tournament, and there's
Jared
no
won't be there.
with Jared. That sounds like a great time.
Yeah, it's true.
Jared, I actually agree with you that it's like I was playing Omni's. He had this like this fast bond, this really cool fast bond list. And
Let me say his name right.
Am I? and he was playing this really cool fast spawn list, and sometimes it would pop off on turn 3, and
Yeah.
he'd smoke me. And this, I think we were playing like 4 strip or Swedish rules, and I was like, wow, this is like, I've kind of wanted to find a way to make fast spawn work in X Point. And he's
Sure.
like, yeah, it doesn't really work because you need the fast mana, you need the DT, you need the time walk. Like, you're not going to win without that stuff. And
Yeah.
so I agree with you that it's true that some decks like that just can't be successful in an X Point format. But like,
That's the main problem I've had with it is like decks that I like to play are literally not at all viable in X Point, and like there's no way to make them viable. Like they're just bad. And like,
well, it depends what you mean by viable too. Like, do you mean viable as in a double digit likelihood to like win the tournament? Okay, maybe not, but you're probably not going to have a double digit percentage likelihood of winning an Atlantic or a Swedish tournament with that either.
You want to at least have like a good showing. You want to at least show your opponent, hey, I can put up a fight. If you go there and just roll over, then nobody wants to do that.
I'm almost always like 50% with like my shitty weird decks at like any given event. So that what I'm saying is like having a chance to go 3-3 versus not winning anything, which is basically what would happen if I tried to like make a lot of these decks X Point viable. So like if you want to play
an X Point tournament, so how would you know, Jared?
I've still played the format. I just don't want to play a format with all you fucking losers playing these shitty watered down decks. That's all.
We don't want you there either.
Check out this one that won though. I just posted it in the chat. This was like the coolest deck I found that actually won one of the X Point monthlies. You'll probably appreciate this one, Andy, because it has 3 copies of Reincarnation in it. But this was like the only like remotely quote unquote interesting deck that I found just scrolling through like the event winners. The rest of them are just like blah.
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 I'm happy to accept that I'm an idiot, but I am in the oh, are you Discord?
No, Discord chat. Yeah, my bad.
Jared, I'm curious, like, what kind of deck do you want to see win?
I don't think he wants to see a certain type of deck win. I think he wants to, and allow me to speak for you for a second. I think he just wants more diversity.
I think X Point might be a little bit better if maybe they pointed some of the staples to make it more interesting, if that makes sense. But some people don't want that. But like, I think it would make X Point more interesting to like point like bolt or swords or something. You know what I mean? Like just, but then I guess you wind up with an even like shittier like mid range aggro format, like Anton says. So, but then you start pointing creatures, I guess, and that doesn't really work. Apart from like Triskelion still pointed, right?
No,
that's pointed in second point, not in X Point.
Yeah, there are no creatures pointed.
There's no point. Yeah, I don't know. So like maybe there's nothing you can do, and like it's great that they update the points, every season to try and level it out again. But I just think like looking at the decks to me, and there's always people doing spice stuff in X Point as well, which is like is probably what I would wind up doing, if I were even remotely interested in this. And I'm not yucking yums here. It is a very accessible way for people to get into old school because you don't have to have all the busted shit. And maybe people don't like playing all the broken stuff all the time, and like that kind of makes sense too because it does remove like Ian said. Let's turn 1, twist your hand for 5.
So what goes into pointing a card or increasing their point? Is it just the amount of times that the card shows up at the top tables? Is that what happens? And we might not know the answer to this, but that's my impression.
Actually, the organizers, and I don't know how consistent this is, like in like the formal format of X Point versus just the guys who run the Teleria like X Point monthly events. But when they choose it, I think they do a pretty good job of looking at the data to see how often a card is played and how it's not as granular as like how many times did you see it in a match, because they're obviously not tracking that data, but it's how many times is it in a deck and the percentage that deck has won. And I think at I think at 5 points, the powers that be decided that Ancestral was still so commonly correlated with winning decks that they decided to make it 6 points. And I think for the level of how evolved the format is today, I think that's about as good as you can, as far as you can go in terms of being data driven to make these decisions. So I do applaud them for that, but I also don't think it considers everything either. It's like, well, maybe you're running Ancestral and that's great, but those other, like, what else are you running with that Ancestral? Like, are you
Well, I
also
mean,
are you also
Well,
running
Four
four
factories, bro.
running Black Vice? You know, what are the other things that are also consistent? Are you also running Lions or Dibs, or are you running like the deck shell? And if that is just a consistently good deck to play, it also happens to have Ancestral. I don't know. I don't think
like
Cards
I'm
Before
sure
Butcher.
these guys are doing a great job, like looking at the all the deck lists, and the data
I
is
mean,
there to analyze.
Andy,
But the
if you want to snip it, you know, friend of the pod, Greg Graham, like just posted back at the it was right before the new year actually when they changed the points. I'll just read the first one just to show like this is exactly what they're doing. So they they changed Soul Ring from 3 points down to two, which I think makes sense because you know, I don't think it's a whole lot different than a box, honestly. It might be a little bit better, but point wise, he said Soul Ring is the most of all the pointed mana rocks, but with the least success, under 45% game win rate. Only 24 of 132 decks made the playoffs, which played Soul Ring. It does nothing to cast super efficient colored staples that the recent aggro-centric meta, shitty aggro-centric meta. It's a huge boon for mid-range and control decks with higher curves and fewer colored pips. In a player's survey, only Demonic Tuner was more requested for a decrease. Finally, while not a point in consideration, the budget-friendly nature of Soul Ring is another fringe benefit of the reduction. So it seems like not just like win rates and that kind of thing. They're doing surveys.
okay, that's good. That's good. So
They're
they are
they're taking
getting feedback from
they're
the
taking community
community.
polls.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like, you know,
And they are looking at how these cards interact with other cards and deck archetypes, which is great. My question is, do you guys think that one of these not broken but efficient cards, just as an example, I'm staring at it right now, Counterspell. This is a great card. It's the best at what it does, excluding mana drain, and well that I'm sure if you look at the deck results, all the control decks have at least one counterspell in them. Do you think at some point counterspell ever be pointed? I don't think so, but I'd like to hear what you guys think.
I don't think counter would be. I mean, they've had they have experimented with the idea of pointing, what Jared said, some of the staples like swords or disenchant or lightning bolt, or I'm not exactly sure if exactly those cards were pointed, but they had these special edition formats where they tried pointing it. I don't know if Ian, you might know. Did you get any? Was there any kind of like results from these experiments? Like, did people like it? Were the decks interesting? Like, because I've always thought that, yeah, maybe it'd be cool to try out to pointing some of the.
Because once you get down to pointing some of these cards that are kind of mid-tier staples, then you start addressing what Jared was talking about, where the optimization is more difficult if you don't have counterspell, or if you can only use you have to use a point on a bolt or something. Then it's like you're not optimizing anymore. You have to look into things like chains, or you have to look at things at like flash counter or stuff like that. And now you're really warping the entire format where you're not seeing decks that you typically see. You're seeing decks that are thinking outside the box because you're forced to.
I don't think it's possible because I think it just pushes it. I think it just pushes creatures more. Really, is what happens if you do that. Like unless you start pointing creatures, and like in that case, what do? You probably point Juzam, you point Ernie, you point Dib, you point Sedge
Yeah,
Troll.
if you point Bolt, like you probably end up having to point Hippie, because
Right.
if you don't have Lightning Bolt, all of a sudden a Dark Ritual Hippie on turn one is really fucking good.
So then I get it, right? Because then it just becomes really inelegant because now the point list is like 120 cards or whatever, right? And then like who wants to take the time to even figure that out or play that format? Because now Now it's forcing you to probably buy cards that you don't have to put in these decks, right? Now maybe you do want to play Moss Monster and you don't have 4, so now you got to buy them or whatever the hell. So like I don't think that's a viable option either. I think the format as it is probably fine. I'm just like, I'm just playing devil's advocate as to why some people might not like it or haven't played it. You know, I think Andy's probably the same way. It's because it doesn't really appeal to him in terms of brewing space. I like I'm doing this in the lead up to an event where he's hosting an event with 2 X point decks, which I think is a cooler idea personally. Well, again, I'm just playing devil's advocate here. I think it's great. It's great for old school Magic that it's a thing. I don't.
My thought on the event that I'm running is that I never played X Point, and I decided on X Point because one, it's gaining popularity. A lot of people play it, right? And you want to make an event which people will want to come to. So you pick a format that people like. So, but two, we made it several decks or 2 decks we landed on ultimately because I wanted to see decks that were not at the top tables and were not at these Neos monthlies or X Point monthlies winning. I want to see other decks. I want a data set on the day where you have multiple decks that people haven't seen before. And the way to do that is to unify 2 decks. And so people are kind of forced to be like, all right, I usually play mono white weenies, but now I have to also play a green deck as well. So the chances of you playing in the tournament and seeing different decks is much higher now. So that's why I did it. And
I like the idea.
Yeah.
It would be interesting. I mean, obviously there's no data yet, and maybe perhaps the Neos monthly will give us some information on this, like how people think in terms of having access to 2 unified decks.
The hive mind.
It would
Mind's
be
already started.
How will Lucas win this time?
it would be interesting to know what the meta would have been like if instead it was 10 points across 2 decks instead of 2 separate 10-point decks, because it's still possible to squeeze in 2 really strong decks separate from one another that have seen the top tables. You know what I'm saying? I mean, like with double X for Atlanta, I mean, I'm basically trying to make 2 decks that are very strong, that are decks that you could see making the top tables if, with a little bit of luck. So
Is that because you're a tryhard spike doofus and you're still going to go 3-3 anyway, Rich?
Probably.
But if there were 10 points across 2 decks, and that really forces you to dig deep. But regardless, I do like this idea of unifying decks, and plus it just makes the gameplay more fun. And the fact that there are no sideboards is another interesting take. One can argue that makes it better, makes it worse, but I do like how you can very quickly switch from one deck to the next and just start game 2 and game 3 right away.
Yeah, so I was gonna you led me to what I was trying to interrupt you with before, but I think the most interesting thing about the format isn't like the unified nature of cards. Sure, like you can only have 1 strip mine, you can only have 1 cast orb, like that is what it is. But it's really the no sideboard thing. And there are so many times I'll be playing, like last month, for example, I was playing a blue-red goblins list, and if I saw an ivory tower on turn 1, I wouldn't like actually scoop, but I would scoop in my mind. It's like, okay, I don't have an answer to ivory tower in my main deck. My deck's really good at dealing like 20 to 25 points of damage, but it can't deal 30 points of damage. So all you need to do is nothing for the first like 4 turns of the game, and I'm going to lose. It's like, all right, like let's just go to game 2 so I can.
If they cast Wrath once, it's probably just over for you, right? Like,
yeah, or like I need to board in my Vices. I need to board in Shatter, or like when I was running the Nihilist before, it's like, all right, I don't have Ice Storms in the main deck, so if I see Deserts, I'm just rat fucked. Like I'm just probably gonna lose. I need to go to game 2 to board in my Gargoyles and my Ice Storms and stuff. So it's I think it was Parker recently was making this point that's obviously true. Like when we play test, we play main deck. But when you're playing in an event, at least 50% of your games, more than 50% of your games are played with the sideboard. So in a competitive environment, the sideboard is like disproportionately like much more important. And not having access to that sideboard is like shit. Like I want to play an aggro deck, but I'm thinking to myself, like, do I, the interesting question is, do I want to run two vices in and two shatters and two disenchants in both of my decks just because if I see one ivory tower on the other side of the table, then I'm just kind of boned. So I think it makes for a lot of like incredibly interesting decisions when you have to account for like what they will almost certainly not be playing. Like when I think about my robots list, it's like, well, I'm probably not going to see energy flux. It's in everybody's sideboard, but maybe Andy will be running energy flux. I don't know.
I,
But
I, I have a feeling you're going to be seeing a lot of energy flux at this particular event. But
I don't know.
that's just me.
But like that's what makes this
I'm
event
calling
so
BS on
cool.
that, but it is what it is.
But because it's different, like we're gonna see a lot of different stuff. And like I totally get when people shit on like singleton format because it's less consistent and a really great player can get smushed by a shitty player if they just don't see the things that they need to see. But in an event like this, it's just going to force us to do things that are a little bit different. And the singleton formats like remind me of playing Magic as a kid, where you're just like, all right, we have a couple of packs. And like when Seth and I started playing, I think the first pack he bought was a revised starter deck, and we would shuffle up that deck, and we would cut it in half, and we would each play with half of that deck. Like you want to talk about a wonky fucking game? That's about as wonky as it gets. But it was fun.
Oh,
And
you
then
got
we
the
would
fireball. Oh.
yeah, yeah. So fun story. I remember I didn't play Magic basically against anybody but Seth for like the first like many games that we played. And I remember the first game I ever won. You know, he was older and obviously smarter than me, so he was obviously beating me. And then I had gotten some Ice Age cards, and I had a Lava Burst, and I lava bursted him to the face for the win. And he was like, I don't think you can do that. I was like, what do you mean? Like, if, you read the card, deal X damage, X is 10, whatever. He's like, yeah, and I don't think you can just like deal it to me. Like, that doesn't seem fair. And I was like, no, I think that's fair. I think you would. He's like, well, that seems like cheating. And I just think about that. Like, that kind of reminds me a little bit of these like singleton formats, like playing Magic on the floor as a kid, which is like fun and nostalgic for me. But I get that it's like a less tight game that you would have in like Atlantic or something. But this event, I think, kind of brings that love of like old Magic, playing wonky shit, but still having like really good players who are trying to build the most competitive decks, who are going to be playing to win, which is equally, if not more fun for me. Like, I want to be in a tournament with people who are like trying to beat me. I don't want to be in a tournament where people just like don't give a shit about the outcome. Like, I would do that in like a, casual Tuesday afternoon meetup. But if I'm like traveling and sitting at a table, I want to get like somebody's best effort.
I think on the other side of that, I think there's going to be a lot of games where like somebody plays a card and the other person just goes, I can't beat that. I can't. Whatever that card is, I can't beat that.
Like Dervish. Like Dervish. You play a Dervish against a mono
Dervish.
black deck, it's like, all right, well, I got to draw my Icy now or something, or I got to draw a Maze. Otherwise, this game's over. I'm wondering if there's sideboard cards that are just good enough to play, like Tsunami or.
I think you're going to wind up seeing more main deck stuff like earthquakes or whatever, or like maybe a Miser's Sandstorm or like kind of weird shit like that. Just to have some kind of silver bullet
or Brass Man,
Falling Star. Yeah,
Brass Man. I don't know.
Can't beat that card.
But, like I think this has been a really fun tournament to think about. In terms of like, what am I going to play? What are other people going to play? Like, if I want to run like Naya, like, do I need to run? Like, if I want to run, I need to run at least 2 Ice Storms mains. Like, what am I going to take out? Because I need Ice Storm. I need to deal with Maze. And
you want to mess with your dude velocity.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. But the one thing that I am 100% positive about is I am bringing 4 brass fucking men to the event, and they are going to hit the table.
Oh man.
Yeah, you kind of got me on the brass man train. I'm trying right now playing 4 in my deck, so we'll see how it goes.
If I can, nothing would make me happier than inspiring people to play brass man. If there's even a 1% uptick across like old school or X Point community in brass man play because of me talking about him all the time, a few things in the world of Magic would make me happier.
Now Andy's going to play Energy Flux and City in a Bottle. So
Can you imagine they put 1 point on brass man just as a troll?
it does kind of stop everything good on the ground, doesn't it? It's kind of remarkable.
I think you and your brass men are ripe for another finals loss, Ian.
You know what? I would love to lose in the finals with brass man again. So, like, can we talk about what you guys are playing, or what you're? I feel like we could. I mean, the guest list. I guess
I don't know what I'm playing. I got a couple decks that I was playing last night with Rich and Ryan. I got a nice land destruction deck which I really like. I think it's really annoying.
Yes.
Rich is like, yes, it's annoying. Green black land destruction I think is a thing. Nether Void I think is super powerful.
Have any lands?
What?
What are you gonna do if you see a deck that doesn't have any lands?
Then I'll just Then I'll just swing with my Elvish Archers.
Ian's being a dipshit right now.
Yeah. So I think Nether Void is super powerful and is underplayed. Put that on the top 10 underplayed cards. Too soon?
Yeah, I got my shit pushed in this month by another Void deck. Just absolutely smoked. Just Ernie, Nether Void, done.
Yeah. I think I may play a Merfolk because, just kind of represent the club. And I don't know where I'm going to go with it. I tried adding black, and I don't know if we talked about this when we did the Merfolk episode, is that anime...
We did. We decided there was literally no reason to ever add black to a Merfolk deck.
Yeah, but did we talk about anime dead, though? Anime dead might be a thing, because the lords get killed, else. And then, no, but you get terror, I don't know. And you also get Nether Void, which is great in a tempo deck. So, toying around with that, I also have.
I guess. Well, no, because like we mentioned paralyzed for Merfolk, so like you might
paralyzed, terror,
like paralyzed, Nether Void, terror. Yeah.
Then I got a white red, like Sarah Angel kind of mode's still pointed though, and like with Orcish Artillery and Spirit Link and stuff, which I ran in. The Orb Invitational that did okay, and that kind of run.
I think that's like a list that like one of the interesting things about this format that you've created this format, Andy, which is kind of cool, but it makes other things so much stronger, and like an artillery, when you know that you're not going to see 8 bolts in both games, like all of a sudden Orcish Artillery pretty fucking nasty, and stuff like Hippie becomes way better when you're not going to see as much of that like 1 mana removal. So I think so much shit becomes so much better and more playable. So I think that's pretty cool.
You love Ian. You love a nice main deck Greater Realm of Preservation too. That might be.
I love the main deck Greater Realm. Love main deck Greater Realm.
I just think
like Juggernaut also becomes a lot better.
Yeah, I just think that like white has so much utility. Sarah Angel's obviously the best card in the format. Spirit Link is really good against damage decks, and I love Thunder Spirits, which I never see played. So
that's because he sucks.
Yeah, but with Artillery's effect and bolts, they become a little better.
Yeah, so, but like I don't know. I feel like that kind of feels like a trap to me. Like yes, it is true that would work, and you can, you can deal 2 or you can deal 3, you can bolt and then, deal your first strike damage. But in real life, the odds of you getting like a few card combos in like to do these things is relatively low, and you just end up having a tough to cast creature in the air that doesn't stop any of the other creatures in the air that are good. Like it doesn't.
But isn't it?
What doesn't it
But
stop?
isn't it easier to cast in a format like this though?
Well, yeah, but I mean, like, okay, so if you're spending 3 mana on a flyer, like you have the Thunder Spirit like to block to attack. It's like, all right, what does that do? Right, but it's like a dip. So you need another thing. You need another card or more mana, or you're taking damage from your artillery just to make that Thunder Spirit take down a dib.
Right, but
So-
not
steal the thunder from Andy's Rube Goldberg machine.
no.
man.
But listen, I mean,
Well,
I can.
I think it's
Let,
fun.
let me
I
argue
think-
again. Let me argue my side is that sometimes, not an insignificant amount of times, you're not trading for that dib. You're racing it. Right? So, all right, fine. I'll take 3, but you're going to take 2, and I have a bolt, and I might win that race. Like, it's not uncommon for Lions Serendib race, and you're like, all right, fine. Serendib's is going to get in for 3, but it's hitting you for 1, and I'm also hitting you for 2.
Of course, that changes the math too.
So,
of course. So
you
have a point
I
there.
can race it. I can if I get a maze, then I'm even better.
Andy's a tempo player, Ian. You're never gonna get through that.
I'm not saying that you're wrong, but I'm just saying that it's not just so cut and dry. But it does block hippie. I mean, unless you're getting into Mahamodi's, then okay, fine, whatever.
he's thinking about turn 7. Like maybe sometimes he won't get to turn 7, but if he does, look out.
But if he does, when he gets to turn 7, he likes having Thunder Spirit.
Turn 7, Thunder Spirit. That's what it's all about.
So Rich, you're obviously playing a shops deck. What are you planning for the other one?
The other deck is going to be the 4-color hymn deck that I've been playing for like.
I like how he immediately acknowledges by not acknowledging that he absolutely is playing a shops deck.
Well, I mean, yeah, that's what I was saying before. Like, there's a way, if you're clever enough to kind of create 2 really strong. I mean, I like playing good decks. I know that's just kind of my thing, but like,
I thought
Yeah,
maybe
I-
that's
did you just-
atrocious
Did you
showing
just kind of in a
shops.
way compliment yourself?
Yeah, you did.
If you're clever enough, there's a way to do this.
oh, did
What? This
Okay,
guy's such a.
I didn't mean it in that sense. If I just thought like, okay, I'm definitely playing
Jeez.
him. That was the first deck.
No, go
I
ahead,
definitely-
Rich. Tell us how clever you are.
I am not clever. That was a clever statement that you made. But the 4-color hymn deck is a deck. It's pretty much the X-Point deck that I've been playing now for at least a year and a half.
Yeah.
And that really does eat up a lot of the good cards from from all the different colors. So I'm like, what other option do I have?
Yeah.
Which was interesting because I could maybe try to do some sort of like mono green deck, which was something I considered. But I just recently acquired Tron lands from Mac Cutbirth. I was like, well, what if I just make a artifact deck, and I instantly was definitely gravitated towards Rob Hackney's deck, which was super cool. Yeah, there you go. Where he had pretty much obviously all the good artifact creatures, vices. He also had 2 candelabras, which is something I don't have. So part of the challenge.
You can borrow mine, Ricardo.
It's okay. I mean, I do like.
Revised copies, Jared.
What's that?
But do you have revised copies?
Oh yeah,
I do
that's
not have
true.
revised candelabras.
Yeah. So one of the challenges of playing or trying to like create a shops deck in along the lines of how Rob did it is to like, what do I do in place of those candelabras? I'm also thinking of taking out the vices. I want to kind of try something else there. So I have 6, maybe 7 cards. Plus, he didn't have Soul Ring at the time because the Soul Ring was at 3 points. Now that that's 2, that definitely makes that deck better. But now it's like, what can I do? There's a little bit of brewing space here to maybe throw in a couple of extra rocket launchers. I don't know yet. But
Just
those are
borrow the
basically.
fucking candelabras.
Nah, I like playing the cards that I have. You know, so
Okay.
You're
It's
such
like-
a chump.
what's that? Well, anyways, so basically those are the two decks I'm very likely going to be playing: Shops and the him deck.
And I think that like Tron list is one of those lists that gets way better when there's no sideboard. It's like when you can't
Yeah.
run Shatterstorm, when you can't run unless you're Andy running 3 Energy Flux main. Like that deck is like it's already a strong deck that I do think also becomes stronger.
Yeah, I did play a few games with Andy, who is now almost assuredly playing main deck Energy Flux, which I appreciate.
Yeah, you gotta do
and
it.
Disc, dude.
it held its own. If I can get Tron online,
Yeah,
then Flux is okay.
It's not over. It's not over. It's just
It can be.
it can be, yeah, but it's not like, yeah. I mean, I guess sometimes most of the time it's
I
backbreaking,
have
but
one piece of removal, which is the Chaos Orb. So
Well, let's forget about Energy Flux, right? Golgovian Silex is an absolute beating.
yeah.
oh, even yeah, but nobody's gonna play that. Come on,
Careful now.
put one
Heard it
in.
here first.
But it's been fun. Speaking to the whole idea of X Point kind of giving you the chance to brew a little bit, even though maybe you might think it's a bit of a lighter version of an Atlantic deck. I mean, it's been fun kind of testing out like disrupting scepters or Obsidianus golems or clay statues. So it's kind of those kind of cards that I would normally not play, even in and certainly in like a fully powered format necessarily, but giving an option to play those cards because it kind of does make sense is what makes the format fun for me.
Well, so in this case, you are talking about a deck that's normally not really viable in old school that is viable in this format. So that's what I was kind of talking about with the monthlies. Like you don't really didn't see that very often, but like that's at least something that's like out of the ordinary. So that's cool. I mean, I love me some Tron. So
yeah, and like I said earlier, I'm right now I'm actually thinking of putting in 4 Brassmen, inspired by Ian. So the jury's still out on that one, but it does feel right. I mean, a 1-drop that stops all the ground creatures for the most part seems pretty damn good.
gives you time to put those other 2 Tron lands in play, bud.
There you go. Yep.
I mean, I'm really glad this conversation came back to Brass Man.
I should have really.
You should have paused and not told me, but you didn't. I have never actually used Brass Man with ATOG, I don't think. And I've run a lot of ATOG in like Swedish and Atlantic the past couple of years. And I do like it, but it's the other reason I like it so much is if you're running Sages or Togs, like he's never even dead later, like even as a chump. And there are a few things in X Point that feel better than like holding off a lion for 2 or 3 turns and then having your Sage and then turning it into a fatty. It just feels really good.
I kind of like that. I like having the ATOG there because
fucking work.
Yeah, like in my experience, it doesn't feel right to even attack with Brassman early on because I don't want to pay to untap it. Yeah. So it's kind of an interesting card, and to have added value with the ATOG out there seems pretty good.
Yeah, and like I've played him a lot, and there are so many games where you get into this like top deck mode, and if you like copy Artifact, like I copy Brass Man all the time. And if you get to like a lull in the game on, turn 13, 14, like swinging with Brass Man, like there are games I deal 15, 18 points of damage with Brass Man.
Brass Man.
3 of them, 4 of them on the ground. And they're just like, all right, I drew 1 dude. Okay, fine. I have 4 dudes.
Mm-hmm. He's a man.
Brass
made
Man.
of brass.
I just love it.
I'm getting like big Christopher Walken vibes here.
Yeah. I wish I could do the impression.
I know. We need somebody who does the impression of the Brass Man.
Yeah, I watched the original RoboCop like 2 weekends ago. Great fucking movie. And I was like, oh, I think I need my next altar playset to be 4 RoboCop themed Brass Men.
You gotta do it on revised though. You don't want to sully Arabian Brass Men. Or maybe you do. I don't know.
I'll just buy more.
I should have picked the Brass Man as the door prize. Now thinking back, it's too late now, but it's fine.
It's not too late, Andy.
I mean, it's not too late.
He already bought a pile of juggernauts.
But I already nice little juggernauts here. So next year.
Yeah. But yeah, Rich, I think so. I've been thinking about a lot about what I want to run for this event, and I think that like trying to predict what other people are going to play. You know, some shit sucks against tower, some shit sucks against the deck, some shit sucks against maze, whatever. But I think maybe not like a four color hymn deck, but generically speaking, that mid range hymns, sinkholes, trolls, hippie, lightning bolt, like it's just a generically like good deck against anything.
Yeah.
It's like there are very few decks that say, I don't care about him. I don't care about sinkhole. Like, troll doesn't mean anything. It's like those are just like generally like really hard things to deal with. So I feel like that I haven't run that list in quite a while, but I feel like if you're looking to spike and do well, I think a list like that is just a generally good choice. And it's funny, Rich, that your four color hymn deck has kind of been like a boogeyman for me recently. And I always think, how the fuck does this guy get away with running like double blue, double black? Oh, of course, there's also disenchant. And it's like all you need, like, are you an idiot? Like, what if somebody plays Blood Moon? And so then I got paired with Rich last month in the X Point monthly, and I was running Blood Moon. And I was like, fuck, I hate playing this deck because it always beats me. But I have 4 fucking Blood Moons. Like this is gonna be fine. I don't think I saw one. And Rich absolutely fucking trucked me. Absolutely. And I was like, oh, all I need is a Blood Moon, and I never saw it.
No, yeah. I mean, this deck is super greedy on the mana, and many people have pointed out that I'm crazy to be playing Counterspell and him in the same deck, and I tend to agree with that.
And Blood Moon's good against your. Well, it's not great against your Shops deck, but
it's medium.
It slows it down a little bit, but I mean, I don't want to see a Blood Moon even against Shops, but it's okay. It's not like my creatures aren't turned off or anything. I'll just take a few extra turns to play them. But I don't know. It's just a deck that I just kind of fell into, mainly because this was like now 2 years ago where I acquired 2 Jazams, so I wanted to play an X Point deck with 2 Jazams, and I didn't really want to play mono black because I kind of had mono black in my singleton deck. So then it just, you throw in the Sedge Troll, then became kind of like mid-range black red. But then I was like, well, it'd be nice to have swords and disenchants too, obviously. And then it slowly just became the hymn deck, the 4-color hymn deck. And it does work quite well. I've been doing very well for the most part over the past year and a half when I do play the monthlies.
As long as you don't pick out
it really does come down to the hymn. I mean, the hymn is such a strong card, probably worth more than 2 points in my opinion. But what do? Do you put it at 3? It's a tough kind of question to answer. But if I don't hymn like turn 1, turn 2, turn 3, then the deck does tend to struggle a little bit because it is very high end and it's kind of slow to get off the ground. But speaking of Sedge Troll, if you are able to get that Sedge Troll out there and you have 1 black open to regenerate, you feel so safe. That 1 troll just really gives you time to breathe. And then you have to, of course, deal with flyers, but a lot of the X Points starts off on the ground. So Sedge Trolls are amazing. I'm a huge fan of them.
Start buying those Psychic Purges, boys.
Oh, I got purged so badly in the monthly. Like now people are bringing in purges and it's working. Like I took 10 damage off of him because of purges. So
wow.
It's
that's
not a card I want to see.
Purges. I put 3 purges main in my brass man.
That's what I'm talking about.
So far, I'm very, very happy with it. But Rich, I wanted to ask you specifically like the last 2 months because we were in the same group, and if I recall, you top 8'd last month.
Yes.
And you smoked me. You went, I think, like 5-1 in our group, and this month you kind of tripped a little bit and went like 3-3. And usually when you run this list, it's like a little bit more consistent. So I wanted to like, did you have shitty draws? Did you have tough matchups? Like what happened this month?
Yeah, what happened? How did you feel about your loss, Rich?
Well, I got purged. That hurt. No, there's variance. I mean, it's a good deck, but it's not guaranteed. Sometimes you just don't draw what you need at the right time. And I mean, I did play a very cool mono blue deck who I lost to, and when he slammed a Modi, I'm like, oh my god, I really have no way to deal with that Modi. I mean, a Side Blast is no good. I took out my control magics from my main deck, so it's one of those. It was just one of those months where it just didn't work out. I still believe in the deck, and I think it's a great deck, but it's gonna happen. It wasn't necessarily because there was any bad matchups. Sometimes the decks just don't, or the cards just don't draw in the right order, and I don't have the answers.
So, Rich, some people have been talking about this rumor that you've been predicted to be the likely winner of this event. How much pressure does that put on you to win?
Enormous.
I'll be the first to say that is if you're a betting man, I would not be betting on me to win an event. It's I guess like a nice compliment, but I mean everybody is great players at this point. Everybody's been playing old school for several years now and have played a lot of competitive matches. Starting to maybe kind of get the sense of the style of decks that you might be playing. I mean, obviously, if we talk about the decks we're going to play, you now know how to play around it. So it does add a level of complexity to the tournament. And I do like that. I just, like you said, it's fun to play against people who want to win but also want to hang, and that's pretty much the philosophy of old school. It's more about the hangs. But I have no. I'm not assuming anything. I'm just going to try to play good Magic. I mean, I make mistakes so many damn times, and it pains me when I do. But that's what makes the format fun, because it's a very human game in a way. Whoever makes the least mistakes tends to win. So I'm just looking forward to the tournament. Win or lose.
I think it's going to be a great tournament hangout. I think it's going to be great seeing you guys down there. Yeah, I think we touched on a lot today. I think I want to thank you guys for joining us and kind of giving your takes on X Point just in general, and kind of your initial takes on this double X Point that we kind of brewed together. So
yeah, it's gonna be a fun weekend. It's gonna be a fun monthly, and it's just been fun playing double X this past month. I think it's a cool idea, and maybe this is kind of going to start this whole idea of unified formats. Might push it old school in that direction, and I think it's a nice direction.
Yeah, Lord knows we have a lot of cards, so we might as well just make another deck out of it and just unify it and stuff.
Well.
But yeah, but all right. With that said, thanks guys again. I appreciate your time, and another great episode. I'll see you soon in a couple weeks.
All right.
Thanks for the hands, Andy.
All right.
Talk to you later.
Bye.
Later.